This is John Culver with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And the first thing I want to announce is the Black Friday sale on the NAMA J2 and also their original Vitality 5800. From the time you see this video till through Cyber Monday, you can get $80 off the J2 or the 5800. So act fast. This is the lowest price on the NAMA J2 that they have ever sold it for. You want to go to namaweld.com and use the coupon code DJ80, linked down below in the description, as well as the first comment to get that Black Friday sale price. If you're watching this video after the sale's over, you can use the coupon code DJJ210 for 10% off. And if you guys are considering a NAMA J2, don't wait. That's my honest opinion. They will run out for the holidays. The sooner you order, the sooner you are guaranteed to get one, because I'm confident that they will run out during the holiday season, and then you probably won't even get them until the new year. And then a lot of people will be wanting juicers because they're going to be wanting to do their New Year's resolution weight loss health kick thing. Get yours now so you are set and prepared. Even if you sit on it and don't even use it, you could probably sell it on eBay when they're out of stock for more money. All right, so with that announcement behind us, I now want to get into the comparison that I'll be doing today. Today I'll be comparing the NAMA J2 against the Kuvings EVO820 or Evolution Juicer. I've been getting requests from several people like, John, do a comparison of the Kuvings versus the NAMA. So that's why I'm doing this video. Of course, between these two juicers, I have my own personal favorite that I may reveal at the end of this episode when I also declare the winner. But please understand, as much as I have my favorites, you know, here's the thing. Every juicer has its own sets of pros and cons, things that are good and things that are bad about it. And I'm here just to share with you guys the pros and cons of each juicer so that you could choose which juicer would make more sense for you. And, you know, to accomplish this, I've created over 600 videos on this YouTube channel, mostly having to do with comparing two juicers side by side so that you could know exactly what's going to happen before you juice the produce, but more importantly, how to juice the produce, since many manufacturers don't tell you the specific steps involved to do that so you get the best performance and the least hassle with your machine, because my goal here at Discount Juicers is to get you to be a juicer for life. I honestly don't really care what juice you get. I just want you to use it every day because juicing has changed my life. I believe it saved my life. I was in the hospital, almost lost my life, and due to juicing and incorporating a fruit and vegetable dominated diet, I've never been healthier. That being said, if you guys enjoy the work I put into my episodes, these long format episodes that nobody else on YouTube does, comparing juicers, giving my honest take and opinions, explaining how they work with you guys, I would encourage you guys to support me and my work by making your purchase at DiscountJuicers.com. This allows me to continue to make these videos, to buy my produce, to power my lights, you know, to make these videos so that you guys can benefit. And also I benefit too because I'm juicing like almost every day and I want to know the best juicer that I'm going to use in my house. And I just like to have fun and I love playing with juicers. It's just what I love to do. So yes, your support is critical. You know, I encourage you guys to support me, a small business owner, American owned, instead of like a big corporation to buy your juicer. In addition, you will get things when you purchase from me that you will not get anywhere else. You will get my pre-sales customer service so I can help you select the right juicer. If I know your specific needs, I could say, well, hey, this juicer makes more sense for you than this one. You know, you will also get, you know, support after the sale. So, you know, I have relationships with all the companies that I represent, and I will ensure you get warranty service if you have a legitimate warranty claim if the company is not helping you directly. This can be instrumental to ensure that you are juicing, you know, for the entire length of the warranty, because I've also heard people that haven't bought from me and they have not been able to get some warranty service, although it shouldn't be like that. In addition, after the sale, I am here to support you, to answer your questions, to guide you and help you to use your machine as effectively as possible. I've made many videos because customers have had some challenges with their machines, and I go out of my way and make a video explaining the situation, explaining how to overcome it and how to juice easily in that machine, you know, with my time-saving tips and techniques, so that you can have a better juicing experience. There's no other big box store with a juicing expert on staff that knows as much as me about juicing that I'm aware of. And if you find someone, let me know, because I want to pick their brain and learn more. You know, I strive to be the best in my field at what I'm doing, and that's why I make these videos, to share with you guys. So your support is greatly appreciated, so I can continue to do my work, which I enjoy so much. I want to thank you guys in advance who will purchase from me, and I want to thank you guys who have purchased from me in the past. Anyways, on with this episode. So the NEMA J2 is literally just introduced this year, and it's been very difficult to keep it in stock. The first shipment sold out like within a week, or a week and a half, depending on the color you're looking at. And then there's been like another month or so until they got more, and finally they're in stock now and shipping, but I don't know how long they're gonna last, and I think NEMA is crazy for putting them on Black Friday sale, because they're selling fine without a Black Friday sale. So I'm pretty confident they're going to sell out of them really quick. It has quickly become one of my favorite juicers in my kitchen to use over, you know, the other vertical juicers that I'm using. Over on the other side, we got the Kuvings EVO820. This came out a year or so ago, and this is Kuvings' latest model in the USA. And this is basically their 3-inch wide feed chute with a bonus, because it has a 3.2-inch wide feed chute. So it's the largest feed chute, has a larger feed chute than the J2. And there's pros and cons to that. This also uses their juicing technology, pretty much similar to that guy. You know, they're both vertical single auger juicers. Vertical single auger juicers are definitely the best for juicing things like fruits. They'll also juice roots. They can also juice things like leafy greens, and some manufacturers say they can even juice wheatgrass, and I would say yes, they can juice wheatgrass if you properly prepare your wheatgrass. Link down below for how you have to properly cut up your wheatgrass so that they can juice in a vertical juicer without getting clogged or jammed. So Kuvings is a long-standing manufacturer selling juicers in the United States with a good track record of customer service. This model, the EVO820, has a full 10-year warranty on not only the motor base, but also the top set. I think the main thing that Kuvings is trying to do with the EVO820 is kind of reach to the high-end market, because it has like a, you know, leather grain look, although no cows were hurt to leather grain this plastic. And they have these unique colors, which might, you know, this is actually the rose gold color. They have gunmetal and champagne gold and all these different things that some people might like. I'm not really too much into how it looks. I'm much more into functionality myself. So over to the NEMA. This is NEMA's second juicer in the US marketplace. They're a much more newer company than Kuvings, although they have handled all my warranty requests that they have gotten, you know, notification of. We did have some issues with them not getting my first request when I called them up, and they're having some challenges with their voicemail system that was rather new at that point, but I think they got all their bugs worked out. Their goal is to have the highest level of customer service in the juicing industry, and so far, I'm definitely happy with how they are performing. Now on to the warranty. How long is the warranty on the J2? Well, the good news is on the motor base right down there, there's a full 15-year warranty in writing, so that's 5 years longer than the Kuvings motor base. That being said, all the parts on the top only have a 2-year warranty in writing, and the motor is the least likely thing to fail, and the juicing parts are the most likely thing to fail. There's only 2-year parts on this in writing, although I have gotten verbal confirmation from NEMA that if somebody has a problem after 2 years, they will take care of them. But then how long will that last? And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if these things are even enforceable. So 2 years on the warranties, but you may get service after that. And if you do, consider yourself lucky. That being said, I've had very few issues with the J2, basically only having to do with the lid closing, maybe me overfilling it and whatnot, and then a pin dropping out, but they've corrected those issues very quickly once they were notified. So now I want to go over the accessories that come with the machines. Over on the NEMA side, you get only one attachment with it, and this is known as the smoothie screen, so you can make smoothies in your juicer. I honestly think that using a juicer to make smoothies is not the best use of a juicer. I'd rather use a vacuum blender personally. But this screen can also be used for making things like, fruit juices to put more pulp in the juice, or even if you just like your vegetable juices with more pulp, you can use this screen. There are no other attachments for the J2, for example, to make things like frozen fruit sorbet or nut butters. Different story on the Kuvings. The Kuvings offers you two different screens that you can use with their machine. Number one, they offer you a sorbet screen, so you can make frozen fruit sorbets with the Kuvings, so you can now have healthy frozen desserts. I actually had a mixture of frozen bananas, frozen cherries, frozen dragon fruit, and frozen wild blueberries last night for dessert. It was quite delicious. And then you also have that smoothie screen that you can make smoothies with in your juicer. Not shown is that you also have an optional attachment that you can now turn your Kuvings EVO820 into a citrus reamer, and that's an additional purchase. That being said, you can juice citrus in here if you peel them, and they'll juice just fine. So I don't know why you'd want to get a reamer unless you just want to be able to cut a fruit in half and just put it on the reamer and juice with it. Now, aside from that, the Kuvings also includes a sieve, so you can reduce the amount of pulp in the juice that it makes. Now, the other thing, they both come with recipe books and full instruction manuals. But actually, what I do like about the Kuvings is that it comes with a special cleaning tool that allows you to clean the screen much more quickly and easily. In addition, the Kuvings comes with a wrench so that you can remove the top set should it get stuck. If you do not use the juicer properly, the wrench should only be an insurance plan, because if you use the juicer properly, the top set should never get stuck on top of the machine. That being said, the J2 handles the machine getting stuck in a different way, and I think I've only gotten this machine stuck maybe like once, and it's really rare at that. I've really tried to get this machine stuck, and it just doesn't get stuck. Even if I don't pre-cut stuff, because I have the processing blade that will pre-cut stuff for you, and they've redesigned the way the pulp comes out so that it doesn't clog and get jammed. But they've accounted for this because the machine will do all the cutting for you to cut things up fine enough, and they have designed the base so that it does not get clogged or jammed. So if you've previously been frustrated with other vertical juicers in the past from getting clogged and jammed and getting a very pulpy juice, to me that would mean that maybe you're not pre-cutting things properly, maybe you're feeding things in too quickly, and with the J2, it takes all those hassles away so that you do not have to be as accurate, or juice as pragmatically as I usually do every single time. So now I'm going to go ahead and compare the two juicers part by part, side by side, so you guys could learn the differences between them. Over on the Kuvings, we'll start taking this guy apart first. We could pull up this feed chute. This feed chute basically has a smaller chute there in the middle that this pops up, and now you have a basically 3.2 inch wide feed chute. This is very convenient if you're juicing something like apples or tomatoes or even whole beets. You can just drop them in there. Things like leafy greens might not be as easy to feed in. I prefer personally their previous generation, the C7000 model, that just had a nice wide 3-inch chute without this trapdoor contraption. This trapdoor contraption to me is just one extra thing to clean and a little bit harder to clean because you don't have a straight pass through. Plus, if you're juicing lots of greens, this is not very conducive to juicing a lot of greens that should be pre-cut, or things like celery that should be pre-cut before putting it in the machine. In addition, the bottom of this housing opens up really wide due to the shape of the auger, and I've always find that usually after juicing there's always some extra pulp in this area that has not gotten juiced, so that you will lose a little bit of yield because of the design. Plus, I'm not the biggest fan of trying to clean this particular part myself. Over on the J2, a little bit different story. We have this whole contraption piece here, which is the hopper. Other juicers pretty much don't have a hopper. You got to feed things in as you go. With the J2, you have a hopper that you basically just will load up with all your produce inside there, and then you have a processing blade that is spinning around inside here to basically cut your produce so that you do not have to. Plus, this also moderates how fast produce is being put in the juicer so that it does not overload itself. And that's something that, you're in control of how fast things are going into the Kuvings. This part, I don't know, this is kind of a wash between these parts. Which one would I rather clean? There's a lot of surface area on this, but I will say that, inside the hopper, for the most part, a lot of the produce basically just gets funneled in the machine, and I'm surprised at how much produce gets funneled in the machine without you having to do anything. And in the Kuvings, there's a lot more residue, in my opinion, when you're be done juicing. Next coming out, we got the augers. This is the auger on the J2. This is the auger on the Kuvings. The Kuvings auger is a lot larger, definitely more surface area to clean, a little bit different shape. I kind of prefer the shape of the auger on the J2. I like the compact format, and it's just designed to help pull things into the juicer. And also with these little divots, it's there to reduce the noise as you're juicing. It has some gearing on the bottom that turns the wiping blade on there, and this is recessed on the bottom. Over on the Kuvings, also recessed on the bottom in there, and this is designed to kind of, as you put whole apples in, this auger is designed to like chunk off pieces so that it does also the pre-cutting for you in a different level, because this machine has a pre-cutter up top, and then it'll also chop things finer. But on the Kuvings, the auger has to pre-cut and do everything for you guys. And once again, it only pre-cuts fruits. It will not pre-cut effectively, in my opinion. Things like celery that should still be pre-cut into small 1/4-inch pieces, or optimally 1/8-inch pieces, especially things like leafy greens and ginger could also clog or jam the Kuvings. So that's the difference in the augers. Next, let's go ahead and pull out the juicing screen and wiping blade assembly. They look kind of similar, actually, because they kind of are. Over on the J2 side, this is the wiping blade, and there's basically 2 blanks that are plastic only, and 2 have the silicone that kind of helps wipe down the screen and the sides as the machine is running, and there's the gearing on the bottom that runs it. Meanwhile, over on the Kuvings, pretty much the same thing. You have the gearing over on the bottom. You have 2 blanks that just kind of look nice, or you can maybe pick it up by. And then you have the silicone wiping blades. Now, personally, I prefer the J2 part better, because the wiping blades are much easier to kind of take out and put back in to clean them. So that's really an improvement to me. Onto the juicing screens. This has little tabs so that you could line it up with the bowl, so it makes it really easy to drop in to assemble. Whereas on the Kuvings, you have a little red dot that you have to line up with the red dot on the bowl, which is not too hard either. So the differences between these 2 screens, if you look closely, is on the bottom of the Kuvings, there is basically a complete full bottom with a gasket. And so that means that the bowl would be a lot easier to clean when you're done juicing. All the pulp would be trapped in the juicing screens, because you could take this juicing screen out to your sink and dump it all out and just wash it out, get the scrub brush that they include to scrub it off, and you'll be on your way. In addition, they have a hole on the bottom that all the pulp flows out of. On the J2 side, they also have a hole on the bottom where the pulp flows out of, but it actually is a little bit smaller than on the Kuvings. But also, it's open on the bottom, so the bowl will have more pulp residue than on the Kuvings. Other than that, let's see if I'm looking here. Looks like the Kuvings has a larger first stage screen and maybe a smaller second stage screen, whereas on my J2 that I have not been cleaning well, because I'm seeing some of the holes are clogged up, has basically pretty much equal first stage and second stage juicing. Both these have a lot of different screen holes, and it looks like the holes on the Kuvings may be a little bit smaller than on the J2, so I don't know how that's going to affect the juicing. I guess we'll have to see. But other than that, these parts do pretty much the same job, same task. It acts to help grind up the produce, and then basically the juice comes out of the screen. Alright, and then on to the bowls. This is the bowl on the Kuvings. It has some gearing built into the bottom. And this is what it looks like. Pretty much there's a straight shot through here. There's no little silicone flap. The pulp will just come out. Now this is a bit hard to kind of get into and clean. Not my favorite thing to clean inside here. And on the Kuvings, you have this little pulp, juice flap that you can kind of stop the flow. Although this one is going to be easier to clean on the inside, because there'll basically be no residue. The hardest part to clean on this guy will be where the pulp comes out, that you can kind of get in there easier because they have a cutout on the top, which I kind of like, but also this is kind of narrow down in there. Over on the J2, a little bit more heavier part there, because you got all this plastic on the side piece that it kind of incorporates this safety switch lever. And then this is also raised up so that you don't get juice kind of flowing into the motor, plus a little seal on there. You also have that little juice flap that's a bit more convenient because it's kind of built in to the unit, whereas this has like a ring that kind of holds it on. And then this guy has an easy to clean pulp outlet. So this pulp outlet is kind of big, so you could kind of get your finger in there, but even better than that, they have this little lever you could drop down, and then this thing just totally opens up wide, so you could easily clean inside here. Now there is a little silicone flap that comes out easily that you might want to pay attention or you might lose it. So you need to clean that up. But definitely between these two parts, I would much rather clean the J2 part, just because you could kind of get into this area to clean it a little bit easier. And that leaves us with the motor bases. The motor on the J2 pulls 200 watts, and over on the Kuvings side it pulls 240 watts. That being said, just because the motor pulls more wattage doesn't mean it's a better motor. So here's the thing, I've used the Kuvings for extended periods of time, and both these machines have only a 30-minute duty cycle, which means you should not use it for longer than 30 minutes. You should use it for 30 minutes and then stop the machine, let it cool off before you could use it more. That being said, I run my machines longer than 30 minutes, and on the Kuvings, it'll cut out on me before the J2 will. So you have to do more volume of juicing. I think the J2 would personally be a better choice. So next I want to go ahead and show you guys how to assemble each machine. It is rather simple, rather easy. We're going to go ahead and take the juicing bowl on the Kuvings and just drop that in place. We're going to go ahead and take the wiping blade part and the juicing screen and kind of put them together, line up that little red dot with the red dot on top of the Kuvings, drop it in. We're going to go ahead and take the auger, drop that guy in. Next, we're going to go ahead and take the feed chute, line up this red dot with the red dot here to the open, and then slide it to close, and we are all assembled. Over on the J2, you have to assemble the juicing parts not on top of the motor base, or it will not go together properly. So we're going to go ahead, once again, take the juicing screen and the wiping blade and just shove that in there until this one spins freely. We're going to go ahead and line up these little tabs and drop that into the juicing bowl. We're going to go ahead and take the auger, drop that in the juicing bowl. We're going to go ahead and take the handle of this, and we're going to go ahead and line up this back part and this to one side, and then just line that up, and it basically goes together. I really like the handle on here. And we're just going to go ahead and drop that on top. If you assemble it properly, the machines will turn on. So what I want to do next for you guys is do a sound test of the NEMA and the Kuvings. First we will test the Kuvings. I'd say that's it, reading at 69 decibels. Over on the NEMA, that's also reading at 69 decibels. So they sound about the same in terms of decibels, although the sound was a little bit different. This is a little bit more higher pitch. That's a little bit more lower pitch. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to juice even amounts of produce in both machines. We're going to make a green juice today, including romaine lettuce, zucchini, and celery. So let's go ahead and do the weigh-in. So we're all set up and ready to juice, but first let's go ahead and do a weigh-in to make sure we have a fair fight. Alright, let's go ahead and check the Kuvings side first. Over on the Kuvings side, the scale is at 1657. Over on the NEMA J2 side, scale is also at 1657. Let's go ahead and show both scales in one shot. 1657, equal amounts of zucchini, romaine, and celery. So now that we got the weigh-in out of the way, let's go ahead and move the scales out of the way. I think today first I'll be juicing in the Kuvings, since that'll require the most work, and the J2 will be a lot easier. The J2 was designed to save you guys some time. I will also be timing how long it takes to juice in both of the machines, so that you guys could learn how long it would take. Some of the things like the celery should be pre-cut before putting into the Kuvings. On the J2, you just need to cut it so that it fits in this main hopper, and then you could shut the lid. Of course, the zucchini won't fit in the feed chutes of either machine, which appear to be about the same size. But we're going to go ahead and fill the hopper up in the J2, so we're going to have to cut a bit shorter, so I'll be accounting for that in the time. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and turn this juicer on, hit start, and we're going to get chopping. So first I think we'll cut up some zucchini just in some pieces and drop it in this trapdoor hatch, kind of let it get processing. While that's going, I'm going to go ahead and pre-cut the celery into 1/4-inch pieces. While that's going though, I'm going to go ahead and drop another zucchini in there. and we're just gonna go ahead and rotate the ingredients. So on the romaine, I just like to rip it into a big piece and put that in the trapdoor and just drop it in there and let it get juiced up. You always want to try to rotate the ingredients as you're putting them in. Now we're gonna go ahead and try to drop in a handful of celery right in that trapdoor and let this machine juice it on up. To save you guys some time, I'm gonna go ahead and speed this video up, and we're gonna come back at you when we're all done. Alright, we're just about done juicing in the EVO820. Had some technical issues with juicing today. We'll go over them in a second. Last bits of romaine and the zucchini going right in the machine. You know, when juicing zucchini, you want to make sure you select the hard and firmest zucchini to juice, or it will not work that well. Today it worked pretty much great. Now the thing I don't like about the Kuvings is that I had forgotten that this spout does not come out that far. So if you don't use the included collection cups, then you're going to get dribbling on your countertop or table. So I had to switch out the collection jars to collect the juice. Once you put the final produce item in, you want to let the machine have some more run time so that the produce that's inside the machine could kind of work through the machine. How you know when it will be done is that the pulp will stop moving out the ejection port, which pretty much it looks like it's pretty much stopped moving, and it'll stop dripping. That's your sign you could turn the machine off, and you can check the time. Literally took us 7.5 minutes to juice in the Kuvings. Let's see, we're gonna go ahead and tip the Kuvings up a little bit, get any last juice out. We're gonna go ahead and close that spout cap there. And I'm going to go ahead and try to rescue all the juice that made it onto the table instead of the juice cup. Alright, so that's all the juice that I kind of got into the juice cup. We're just going to go ahead and put it in this large pitcher there. And we'll be using this in a little bit to strain out the juice. Alright, that made a little bit of a mess and took a little bit more time than I would have liked. My other comment on using the Kuvings is that I was not prepared because I did not have the pusher, because it's been a while since I used the Kuvings. And you know, you do need to agitate some of the produce as it's going in, because it could get stuck and the auger could just keep spinning around without it kind of going into the machine. So I had to actually go grab the auger to get the Kuvings to work properly. So that took me a little bit of extra time to kind of push things in and get it to go into the machine. Now if I would have pre-cut things smaller, then I wouldn't have had that issue. But you know, what's the use of a large feed chute if you can't put things in it, you know, as large as possible, if you still got to pre-cut things? So that's definitely you know, interesting, but we'll see how this yields in a minute. And I guess next we're gonna go ahead and juice in the Nama. Next we'll be juicing the Nama, and we need to load up the Nama with all the ingredients. So I'm gonna turn the timer on and then start prepping the ingredients and then loading them in there. So let's go ahead and turn that on. We're gonna go ahead and take our celery. I probably just need to chop the celery into like maybe 3 or 4 big pieces, and that's all we really need to do. Get that out the way. We're then gonna go ahead and take our romaine. I could probably just break the romaine up into pieces and just load it into the hopper there. Always wanna load the greens in when you're juicing in the Nama first. Just like to rip it up, saves time, you don't really need to cut it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in maybe some of that celery. Looks like we're going to have to do 2 loads in the Nama to get it to work properly. We're going to go ahead and then take our zucchini and just chop it into pretty big, large chunks. You know, the smaller the chunks you cut for the Nama, the better it's going to work. We can now turn the Nama on, and now it's going to get juicing. Now while it is juicing automatically and feeding things in for you so that you don't have to, and let's kind of monitor, make sure it's hitting everything. We might have to push some stuff down a little bit. Now the other thing you can do on the Nama is once it starts to go down from the initial, you can either you know, let it go down all the way and then load it back up, or you can continue to add a few things into the feed chute into the top, and a little hole to kind of keep the juicing going. And that's up to you, your preference, if you want to keep loading things in, or if you want to just let it empty and then load again after it's done. But while this is running, the cool thing is you can be pre-prepping and cutting the next load that needs to go in the machine. So that's how I operate the NEMA. I let this run until it's empty or almost empty, and then I'll load it with the next batch. So to save you guys some time, we're gonna go ahead and let the machine run, and we're gonna come back at you when we're almost done. All right, the NEMA has been working and it's basically been chopping everything up so that I don't have to. I did have to agitate it a little bit. Sometimes if you don't cut things small enough, especially like those romaine hearts got stuck in the bottom, but if I cut them smaller, they'd kind of drop in a little bit better. The NEMA has done a fairly good job basically at juicing everything and kind of, getting the juice out. And I'm almost about ready to load in my next batch. All right, the NEMA is pretty much finished with that load, so let's go ahead and open the top and let's go ahead and load in the next batch. This guy has a lot of romaine hearts and some of the celery in there and a lot more of the romaine. We might even have to do 3 batches in the NEMA because we're filling this up rather fast. If you pack stuff in there, then it won't agitate as easily and things won't go down as easily. So we're just gonna go ahead and maybe put in a couple zucchinis here on top to kind of weight it down. Loading the NEMA is very critical to make sure you will have success. Close that back up and it continues to juice automatically. All right, the NEMA's got almost all that work through. Now let's go ahead and add the last batch. We're gonna go ahead and put some of the leaves in first and maybe try to separate them out a little bit loose. I think it'll help a lot than putting them kind of in a bundle. Drop them in there. And then we're gonna go ahead and put the celery on top of the greens. And finally, we're gonna go ahead and put the last few pieces of zucchini on top. Now we're gonna let the NEMA run, and actually I'm gonna run to the bathroom while it's processing. All right, the J2 is just about done processing, and there's a few last items going into the juicer that we're gonna go ahead and let them go in and get juiced. And how you know, once again, when it's done is that the juice will stop flowing and the pulp will stop moving. Looks like the pulp is still flowing, so we're just gonna let it run a little bit longer. All right, sounds like to me that it's done. We're gonna go ahead and turn that off and check the time. Literally took 10 minutes and 24 seconds from what I saw. In this case, the NEMA took longer than the Kuvings, and that's because it basically, the leafy greens I found take a bit longer. Like if I was doing nothing but apples or carrots or apples and carrots, it'd work a lot faster. But when you put the greens in there, especially because they're just leaves that are trying to get fed in, especially if you don't have a good percentage of like carrots on top or apples to push it in, they can take a bit more time to kind of get funneled in to the juicer to get juiced. All right. On the NEMA, I always like to tip this up to make sure we get all the juice out. We're gonna go ahead and close that. And now we're gonna go ahead and compare the juices, see how much each juicer made, both with and also with it unstrained and then with it strained. All right, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the juices over on the Kuvings side that we juiced first. Looks like pretty much we right at 900 milliliters of juice with a nice foam layer. The zucchini will tend to foam a fair bit, and that's what's causing most of the foam there. And then actually on the NEMA side, juice is actually a lot darker, meaning to me that it actually pulled out more nutrients, maybe did a better job at grinding. But if we look closely, it's kind of hard to see. We're basically right at under 1,000 milliliters. So that's approximately like 10% more juice made in the NEMA. That being said, the NEMA did create even more foam than the Kuvings did. And we'll give you guys a shot from the top there. Lots of foam in this recipe. If you omitted the zucchini, you'd be omitting probably lots of the foam as well. So as you guys just saw, the NEMA made about 10% more juice than the Kuvings. Next, let's go ahead and use a sieve to strain out the juice to see which juicer put more pulp in the juice, because the pulp will artificially inflate the yield. And that's the juice on the Kuvings. Now I did want to mention that the Kuvings does run at 60 revolutions per minute, while the NEMA does run at 50 revolutions per minute. 10 revolutions difference. Does that make a big difference in the juice quality? Probably not necessarily just the RPMs, but the NEMA, due to the way it works, it does put more oxygen into the juice, or will create more foam depending on what you're juicing. So that may lower the juice quality, but also in my opinion, I believe the NEMA to probably grind up a little bit better than the Kuvings, which will increase the juice quality. So there's pros and cons to each juicer style for sure. On this recipe, probably most of the pulp is being created from the zucchini, so if you didn't use zucchini, you'd probably get less pulp. But you know, this is what I was juicing today, and I always try to just show you guys what exactly happens when I'm juicing the recipes I do. Cucumbers would probably make a little bit less pulp, especially if you use something like English cucumbers in there. But I have lots of zucchinis right now, so that's what I'm juicing. So we pretty much got all that strained out, and here's the pulps created in each one. And to me, it looks like actually the NEMA made a bit more pulp, but to know for sure, we're gonna go ahead and use a scale and weigh out the pulps. So over on the NEMA side, got about 28 ounces of fine pulp that came out. Over on the Kuvings side, 26 ounces of pulp. So the NEMA made a little bit more pulp than the Kuvings. All right, now that we got the juice strained, let's go ahead and pour it back in the original containers to see what volume we have left. All right, over on the Kuvings side, after straining, looks like we basically are just under 900 milliliters now, so that's acceptable. And then over on the NEMA side, looks like actually we're under 1,000, so the difference is basically not as great. So now maybe there's only like a 5% difference between the NEMA and the Kuvings. That was actually really interesting. The only thing that I think could make maybe the major difference is that the air bubbles had settled more on the Kuvings, because basically the air bubbles basically is juice that has air like in it, so it puffs it up, and then when the air dissipates, it then turns back into juice, so you'll maybe add a little bit more yield, because the difference was a bit more. There was actually a little bit more in the Kuvings than I was expecting than the NEMA at that point. The last thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and try the juices. Maybe we'll try the Kuvings juice first here. It's a good solid juice. I like that. Tastes good to me. Once again, my juice testing is 100% subjective, whereas the yields were objective. I mean, I don't taste any significant difference in the juice quality. They taste pretty much similar. Yeah, I can't really say that they taste majorly different. They taste pretty much the same to me. The other thing I forgot to mention is that the Kuvings is $50 more than the NEMA. So in the end of this episode, what am I going to say? Well, each juicer has its pros and cons is what I'm going to say. The NEMA made more juice, but it put more air into the juice and made more foam. It also took longer to juice. The Kuvings, you know, you probably have to do a little bit more pushing action than the NEMA. That was more automatic. And because I literally got up and went to the bathroom while the NEMA was working, this is where the NEMA will save you time, because once you get this filled up and you turn it on, you could walk away and go to the bathroom. You can check on your baby, you can, you know, check your Instagram, you could read a book, you could do so many other things besides babysitting your juicer, sitting there and pushing produce in and letting the juicer work. Oh, and before I even declare the winner, I want to go ahead and take apart the juicers so you guys can see what's left in the juicers once you're done. So over on the Kuvings, we're going to go ahead and take this apart and show you guys, like, inside there's a little bit of pulp residue left. Inside the auger here on the top, though, we'll maybe tip this up for you guys. You guys can see there's a fair bit of pulp, you know, literally sitting in the auger and then sitting in this juicing screen. But if we look at the bowl, this bowl is actually very clean and can be simple to clean. Next, over on the NAMA, if we take this guy apart, you can see in this whole top housing, once you pop it out, you guys can see actually that's fairly clean for what it does. There's a little bit of residue around the edges that are stuck to the walls, but for the most part it's pretty clean. And then on the bottom there, you guys can see there's a little bit of residue on the bottom. And then inside this juicer, there is also some residue as well, maybe a little bit less than the Kuvings, but still there's a fair bit of residue on the auger there. And then of course, in the juicing screen assembly right there. And then inside this bowl, the bowl actually is not too bad, a little bit more juice residue and pulp than the Kuvings bowl. I estimate both these machines to take me about the same time to clean. I don't know, somewhere between 4 to 5 minutes. I'm quick at juicing. Juicing times may take you longer, and I literally take a high pressure spigot and spray water and everything, just blast everything clean, then take a scrub brush with some soap and just scrub all the parts down. So at the end of this episode, which one am I going to say is the winner of this juice off? Well, here's the thing. Each juicer has its own sets of pros and cons. The NAMA did take about 2.5 minutes longer to juice the same amount of produce, although it did make maybe 5 to 10% more juice than the Kuvings. The Kuvings took less time, but it was active time that you had to sit there and kind of babysit and push produce in the machine. Made a little bit less juice than the NAMA. The Kuvings also cost more money than the NAMA, but has a longer warranty on the juicing parts. So you see there's pros and cons. The Kuvings will also make things like sorbets. That is something the J2 cannot do. So it's like, I don't know, it's a toss-up. I believe that the J2 grinds to a little bit finer consistency than the Kuvings personally. I think in the end, I always declare a winner, and this one's tough because like 5 or 10% yield difference is not a whole lot. And I do like that the Kuvings, seem to put a little bit less pulp in the juice than the NAMA. But I sure like how the NAMA will literally save you time, because once you fill up the hopper, you could just let it run, and then you could go to the bathroom or do something else while it's running, then come back, and then you could have your own juice. So I really like that aspect of the NAMA, and it also does cost less money. So I guess at the end of this episode, and it did make more yield, at the end of this episode I'm going to say the NAMA wins out over the Kuvings EVO820. Also, I didn't like about the Kuvings how the spout comes out really close, and you must use their collection jars, or maybe something like this IKEA measuring cup. Otherwise, the juice will dribble all over. So I'm not a big fan of that. Also, the Kuvings is a little bit shorter. So actually, if you want a shorter juicer, the Kuvings would be better because the NAMA is rather tall. But on the NAMA, you can put like a 32-ounce mason jar and just juice right into your mason jar. Whereas on the Kuvings, the 32-ounce mason jar doesn't fit underneath because this is a bit shorter, and will not accommodate a 32-ounce mason jar, although it will accommodate a 16-ounce mason jar. But also then you may get that dribbling issue that I also had using it. So that's pretty much the end of this episode. If you guys are interested in buying the Kuvings or the NAMA J2, and make sure you use the coupon code for the J2 I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, so that you guys could save some money on it. Links down below in the description to buy the Kuvings or the NAMA J2. Your support and your purchase at Discount Juicers is greatly appreciated. The coupon codes mentioned previously are only good on the NAMAwell.com website. If you guys enjoyed this juice off, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to share this video with somebody else that is looking for juicers, so that they can learn about the truth about the different juicers. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I've done a number of episodes comparing the Kuvings to other machines as well as the NAMA to other machines, so that in the end you guys can get the right juicer for you. I've also linked down below in the description some of the other videos I've done with the EVO820 as well as the NAMA J2 for your viewing pleasure. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.